I'm a Canadian taxpayer, and this is a message for my fellow Canadian taxpayers, all 30-ish million of you. Put your hand on your wallet because the federal government and some provincial governments are coming for your tax dollars. Here's the problem. You probably noticed in the last month or so, 2 months, 3 months, federal energy minister Tim Hodgson has been out banging the drum for more Canadian LNG. LNG off the East Coast to Europe, LNG through Port of Churchill in northern Manitoba, and of course, where there already is some LNG development on the West Coast. And he makes it sound like it's really rosy and, there's all this demand to be satisfied. Here's the problem. In this conversation around global LNG demand and what Canada should do, there are three types of people, three voices. First is the bulls, and that is Tim Hodgson to a T. Now, you got to remember, this is a guy who was, he was with Goldman Sachs, became CEO of Goldman Sachs Canada. So Goldman Sachs is an investment banker, an advisor on, big deals all around the world. And they've got lots of clout, and they didn't get that clout by being pessimists, right? And that's what we're getting from Hodgson. We're basically getting a glorified stockbroker, sell, 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 wants our money, wants private capital in, but these kind of projects, you can bet there will be public money involved. It will be investment tax credits, it will be cash, it will be cheap electricity or infrastructure will get subsidized, but there is no way that LNG development is taking place in Canada and public money isn't involved somehow. Okay, so there's your tax dollars in your wallet. Hang on to them. But there's bulls, there's bears, and there's somewhere in between. So I interview experts, outside of Canada all the time, probably 200-300 a year. And plenty of them are bears. And they say, look, all of the LNG demand that we're talking about out to 2050, there's policy that's going to be a problem. There is electrification led by China, on and on and on. He said, no, there's a very good chance that there will be surplus supply out past 2035, out past 2040. That's not a good business case to expand the Canadian industry. So there's bulls like Hodgson, there's bears like the experts I talked to, and then there's some in the middle. And my favorite one is Anne-Sophie Corbeau, who used to be BP's head of gas and now is a visiting or a research scholar at the Columbia University in New York. And she said, in her charming French accent, she says, look, Markham, there are, yes, it could be the bull case, but the problem here is the tremendous uncertainty because we don't know what China's going to do. The bulls assume that China will continue, consuming imported LNG for decades. But that's not the case. The national government doesn't want to do it. They spent $40 or $50 billion last year on imported LNG, $325 billion on imported oil. So they see the electrification of their economy as a way to stop paying precious foreign currency for imported oil and gas. And they're not alone. Malaysia is doing it. Other Asian countries are doing it. It's a trend, and it's beginning to accelerate. And if it accelerates through Asia, you can bet it will spread to other continents. So it's that tremendous uncertainty that Anne-Sophie emphasizes. And all of that is fine. I mean, we're talking about the next 25 years, and we should discuss all of those cases. Maybe the bulls are correct. Maybe the bears are correct. Maybe Anne-Sophie is correct. But that should be part of our conversation, a broad conversation. And here's the reason why, because I forgot to add one thing. Not only are you going to be subsidizing if there's further development, who's going to clean up the mess? Now, if you want to look at what a problem this is, look at Alberta. Alberta has been, developing, it's been producing oil and gas for 100 years, really since after World War II. They now have an accumulated unfunded environmental liability, like we're talking you know, tens of thousands of wells and pipelines and gas processing plants and tailings ponds in the neighborhood of $300 billion. And the problem is that it's so big, nobody can really put a firm number on it. So it could be 200 billion. Alberta could never pay that off. It would bankrupt the province. And it would hurt Canada if the federal government stepped in and said, hey, we'll help you. So if you build LNG plants off the west coast of Canada, who's going to clean that up? Well, in BC, which is the jurisdiction responsible, they don't have a great track record for cleaning up their oil and gas asset liabilities either. And that's true all over the place. So wherever you build this infrastructure, A, we're going to pay for it, or we're going to help pay for it if it gets built. And B, more than likely, we will get stuck paying for cleaning it up as well. So those two things, what we're going to pay soon and what we're going to pay at the end of to clean up the assets, suggests that we should have a much more fulsome conversation. And I would really like to see our, federal energy minister, because that's what Tim Hodgson is, come down off that perch. Like say, look, admit some uncertainty. It's okay. We can say, well, maybe it's not going to be like that. But you know what? On balance, we think this is a good deal. Here are the parameters of it. But this relentless cheerleading, this, it's like reading a CAP, Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers. It's like reading one of their press releases all the time. Or it's like reading an OPEC press release. June, I think it was, they had an energy conference in Kananaskis in Alberta. And Haytham El Gai, the Secretary General of OPEC, was there. And he's the same thing. It's on that hamster wheel of PR and hype all the time. And I know full well, having read OPEC's modeling and read competing modeling from the IEA and other places, that it's not nearly as rosy as he makes it sound. So if we're on the hook for subsidies and then cost of cleanup and then God knows what else, what other costs would arise that the taxpayers would be called for, our politicians are pledged to safeguard our interests. We elect them. That's what we elect them to do. And I would at least like them to see them approach this in a very sober, methodical way. Stop the hype, Minister Hodgson. Just stop. And same advice for PM Mark Carney, actually.